Okay, so I want to read an entry from my journal that I wrote yesterday. Slow morning, coffee and Jesus, and a great workout. Actually, I started off, I said, Great Wednesday, slow morning, coffee and Jesus, and a great workout. I am recommitting myself to me. I want to be at peace. Things may or may not fall apart. I am an adult, and I will learn to figure it out along the way. I will not blame my parents. I will not blame the environment I was raised in. I will not blame or point fingers. I will look to God, the author and the finisher. I have one life to live, and I will not waste it living in fear. And so today I wanted to share, as I'm continuing to rediscover Lashay, how um you know I realized that after I finished writing that this wasn't about any regular morning. This was about me becoming the woman that God is inviting me to be, the woman he always intended for me to be. And so my first thing that I thought about was how I am recommitting to the woman that God has entrusted me to be, because for so many years I've always found myself taking care of other people, and that's a good thing. Like I believe I have the gift of hospitality. I absolutely enjoy serving other people. I refer to myself as a two all the time, and I think about going to my girlfriends when they have dinners. I'm always asking, how can I serve? How can I host? How can I help? I'm the same way in my church community. And I remember being a little girl, and my grandmother would say to me, Lashay, you do such a great job when our guests come over. And so for years, I've invested in everyone else. And again, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I just think that along the way, I left myself out as I was getting older. And so now, as a grown woman, 53 years old, I am asking different questions as I am tending to who I am becoming, the woman that God always intended for me to be. I am caring for my own soul. I am creating a life that is sustainable, and a part of that sustainability is peace, joy, and vitality. And so I love slow mornings, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. What I do know is that I have to just get up early enough so that I can enjoy a slow morning. If I sleep in late, or if I go to bed late and wake up late, I can't always expect to have that slow morning. And so when I think about what I value and is it aligned with what I actually see in my life, I've got to take inventory of that, because I love my slow mornings, coffee with Jesus. I love them. I absolutely love them. I grab my devos, I grab my journal, I grab my chronological Bible. I've got tons of other things that I do along the way, but I have a morning routine, and I absolutely love it because I am caring for my soul. And as long as I go to bed early and I can get up in time before my workday starts, I'm creating something that is sustainable. I'm learning the value and the importance of me protecting my peace. And so I'm asking myself this question first, but I like to pay it forward to those that are watching. And that question is, what does recommitting to yourself actually look like? Well, I've just described to you just a little bit of what I am journeying through as I am rediscovering Lashay, spending these next 30 days with me. And as I'm paying my life forward in this space, I am sharing that I'm figuring things out at 53. And I'm okay with that, because I just believe that I do still have some time ahead of me. Not as much as I have behind me, but I think God is still writing my story. And so I would ask you the question, what would it look like for you to recommit your life? Like, what would that actually look like? Not selfishly, because, we've got responsibilities, but what would it look like faithfully to really care for your soul and to create a life that is something that you love, and it is sustainable for you to keep up with? For me, the other thing that I'm thinking through is how peace is a goal. It is non-negotiable. I'm learning the difference between control and wanting peace. Because I have a leader, great leader, who says control is an illusion. So I'm not trying to predict what the next hour or the next day is going to be. Certainly, I do try to plan, but I can choose peace. And what I mean by that is that I am eliminating uncertainty. I don't want to find myself feeling that my peace is disturbed because things are not certain. And so I want to share something. I was reading Proverbs chapter 3, verses 1 through 6, and I've always held on to 5 and 6, but the Holy Spirit said to me so plainly that you cannot live out 5 and 6 without 1 and 4, because in 1 and 4 it says keep his commands in your heart. Well, that's how you get to trust the Lord. Don't forget his teachings. Don't lean to your own understanding. So do you see how the correlation of 1 and 4, Proverbs chapter 3, verses 1 through 4, helps me to live out 5 and 6. You know, my character is being formed in 1 and 4, and then my decisions are being made in 5 and 6 because I am choosing to trust in the Lord. And so, again, one of the things that came out to me was that Proverbs chapter 3, 1 through 4 teaches us how to cultivate a trusting heart. Proverbs 3, 5 through 6 teaches us what to do with that heart when we come to a crossroads. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm at a crossroads. I'm 53 years old and I am taking inventory of my life. I'm paying it forward in this space. I'm not ashamed of where I am, but I do believe a part of me not being ashamed and also being vulnerable is that there is one woman who's going to come and watch this video and they're going to identify with me, and they're going to no longer feel alone in this stage of their life. So I'm choosing peace. I'm not chasing certainty, and I'm just inviting you to consider to do the same. The other thing that I'm thinking through is that I refuse. Now, this is all based on my journal entry, right? I'm refusing to build a future on blame. So I'm not blaming my parents. I'm not blaming the environment that I was brought up in. I'm not blaming the relationships that I was in. I'm not pointing the finger. I am looking at myself. And as I'm looking at myself, I am looking up and I'm giving it to the one that can help me. And so, you know, the reality of it is that yes, my environment did shape me. And I have tons of past hurt that has shaped my thoughts and ideas about how I move throughout life, whether I trust people or how quickly I trust people. And the reality of it is that I'm not making any more excuses. I refuse to stay stuck. I refuse to play victim. I'm just not I'm not blaming. I'm not doing the blame game. I'm not pointing the fingers, because I think that there is freedom that I'm finding by taking ownership of my healing process, because God never asked me to be perfect. He just said for me to trust him. And so again, Proverbs chapter 3, verses 1 through 6, 1 through 4 forms me. 5 through 6 helps me to actually live it out. So I'll ask you this question. Is there someone that you've quietly given too much power to when it comes to your future? I know for me, I can list a couple of people, and it wasn't because they asked me to give them power. I felt like I needed to give them power. I'm taking my power back. And again, this is not about me being selfish. This is about me waking up and finding the peace that I know that God said that I can have, and resting in the fact that, yes, I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. And if you read the Bible, I can't remember the scripture. It might be in, it's in the New Testament. I want to say it's in, oh geez, it just went out of my head. Either way, tomorrow has its own worries. I think it's in Matthew. Tomorrow has its own worries. So fear doesn't get the rest of my story. Fear does not get the rest of my story. It will not get the rest of my story. I'm going to say that again. Fear does not get this second half of my life. I don't know what is coming. I don't know. And I don't know how difficult it's going to be. I don't know how easy it's going to be. I don't know what tears I will cry. I don't know if it's going to be wonderful. I don't know. But what I do know is that fear does not get to determine the rest of my story. And I'm encouraging you to consider the same. I don't know, maybe I'm being too vulnerable. Maybe I went too far, but one journal entry prompted me to take a moment and say, we are not blaming, and we will steward this one life that God has given us. And you will not allow fear to take over. Why? Because I'm looking to God, who is the author and the finisher of my life, my story. I am looking to God because I know that he has given me this one life to live, and I will not let fear cause me to waste it. Because if fear wasn't writing the next chapter of your life, what would it look like? Now, maybe I'm not talking to everybody, but if fear is currently ruling your life right now, Just ask yourself the question, what would your life actually look like if fear did not? Come back tomorrow. I've been on this 30 days. I think this might be day 7 or day 8, but just keep coming back, hanging there with me. I'm paying my life forward for one other woman that I know is sitting in her car. She's sitting on the edge of her bed. She is looking at herself in the bathroom mirror. She is walking towards her office, the place that she works, and she's struggling because fear and blaming and uncertainty has a grip on her. For me, I'm releasing it, and I am looking to God, and I'm determined to steward this one life with as much peace that God will allow me to have. Come back tomorrow. Peace.